It's been 5 years since Rogue Corps released and Contra is back in action with Operation Galuga. I'm sure this game's going to be an absolute cakewalk. Oh, Contra, the arcade shooter in which you'll be running and gunning across several different stages with a variety of weapons that you can choose from. When the game begins, our player characters Bill Reiser and Lance Bean are briefed on terrorist activities as well as strange anomalies occurring on the Galuga Island. As the renowned Contra unit, it's our job to investigate and neutralise any threats. You have access to 3 game modes consisting of the story, arcade as well as challenge mode. We'll run through the story gameplay first and touch on the other 2 game modes a little later in the review. In story mode you have access to 3 difficulty settings, being easy, normal and hard, and these are quite traditional, but you can make your experience even more difficult by adjusting the danger level. This additional setting lets you choose between a regular health bar in which you take damage or a one-hit kill difficulty setting. Look, if you value your sanity, do not turn this setting on. I know there's a few of you out there thinking, hey look, I can do it. Maybe you've done a few lines of G Fuel and your gaming chair's on max settings, but I'm telling you young man, it's not worth it. The game features a character select system, but you start off with access to Bill and Lance. You'll unlock additional players by progressing through the story, and you can play cooperatively with up to 2 people, but this is local couch co-op only. You can jump, slide, duck, shoot and lock your shot in place, as well as change your weapon, of which you can hold up to 2. I died very early on in the game, and I'm talking about all of my lives at the start of the stage. So I knew it was going to be a challenge, but this was to be expected. I mean, come on, it's a Contra game, not Minecraft. You do have hit points, and these are shown in the top left of your screen, as well as lives, which are next to your character icon. When you lose all of your hit points, you respawn where you died, and you lose a life. When you lose all of your lives, you respawn at a checkpoint earlier in the stage, with all of your lives being replenished. There are 6 different types of weapons, which are obtained by shooting weapon pods that float throughout each stage. Now, all of the weapons offer a unique way of shooting. For example, H auto-tracks enemies, S shoots a wide volley of bullets, whilst F is a short-range flamethrower, and it's short for F because you should never f***ing use it. If you pick up the same weapon that you're holding, it will upgrade to level 2, and these are significantly more powerful. The downside to this is that if you take one hit, the weapon will downgrade back to its level 1 counterpart. You can also overload your weapon, which provides a powerful temporary effect, but this also removes the weapon from your inventory. You can also equip 2 perks on your character. Some of these are exclusive to each character, with the rest being global. Some of these include HP boosters, life boosters, as well as spawning in with your preferred weapon. You need to spend credits to buy these, and credits are earned by completing stages. I highly recommend buying all of the HP boosts and life ups, as these do make the game significantly easier. Killing enough enemies will net you an extra life, so although you can somewhat dodge a few enemies, it's recommended that you kill as many as you possibly can. Now, there are boss battles at the end of every stage. Some of these are far easier than others, but they'll all provide you with a challenge. Their attack patterns can be memorized, so it's more of a case of trial and error. Let's not get anything twisted, guys. This game is difficult. There were periods at the start where I was thinking about lowering the difficulty to easy, and that's something that I never do, right? I'm glad I didn't do this, as this made the satisfaction of clearing some of the harder areas even greater. There are several different stages. You'll be traversing through jungles, enemy bases, as well as laboratories. They're all unique and offer different types of gameplay. For example, some have more of an emphasis on platforming whilst dodging enemy projectiles, whilst others will have you riding a hoverbike and also dodging enemy projectiles. Look, to be honest, you're going to be dodging a lot of enemy projectiles. I didn't enjoy the hoverbike stages, as I felt I had less control of my movement and my ability to evade attacks. The game's story narrative is further developed on in the form of cutscenes, which are fully voice acted. The story is nothing to write home about, but there is one there. The maneuverability in the game is smooth, the double jump is responsive, and you do reach good elevation when trying to dodge attacks. The dodge itself is less effective, as you'll want to be jumping out of the way, but it does have its uses. My only gripe was when I was trying to jump out of the way and my character would cling on to the ceiling. This locks you into place for enemies to damage you, and when you don't intend on doing it, you rarely have enough time to react. H and S are the best weapons in the game. Well, they were to me anyway. Any weapon that does a large AoE form of damage works the best. S has a very wide arch that fires several rounds, whilst H shoots homing missiles that lock onto the enemy. A level 2 H is absolutely deadly. If you can manage to hold onto one of these, you'll absolutely mow through enemies. Now, the graphics and presentation are fine, but they're nothing groundbreaking. And if I'm being honest, they look slightly dated, but I'm not sure if that was the art style that the devs were going for. And if they were, then fair play. One thing that really f***ed me off was the game auto picking up a power-up that I didn't want. Now, this is prevalent in the hoverbike missions, and another aggravating factor as to why I didn't enjoy them. For me, losing my H power-up in these missions was a wipe. That's how powerful the weapon is. There's a challenge mode that lives up to its name, so I can't really give it a hard time. Now, there's several challenges that you'll need to complete, like getting through the stage as quick as possible, completing a stage without using a weapon, and only using one type of weapon. The catch is that you can't take a hit, and I mean one hit. They're difficult and there's enemies all over the place. Now, I wasn't able to do any of these, and after about 20 minutes, I concluded this isn't very fun. But this is a challenge mode, so it being difficult is absolutely fine. I'm sure some of you will have an absolute field field day trying to get some of these completed. Just note that they will require some patience and a good amount of practice. In arcade mode you can play with up to 4 players locally, if you have that many friends that is. Now arcade mode is night and day compared to challenge mode. You have a set amount of lives and have to get as far as you possibly can with or without dying. You'll be going back through the story stages and fighting the story bosses non-stop without all the cutscenes and dialogue. Not only was the arcade mode more enjoyable, but I noticed how much better I'd got at the game. I managed to get to the stage 3 boss on my first run. Now take into consideration that I was losing all of my lives on a single stage, so to get through 3 stages showed me that I was getting better. And at this point you're also familiar with the attack patterns, when you should be evading, and what encounters are coming up next. When you lose all of your lives you respawn back to an earlier part of the stage with all of your lives being replenished. So from what I can tell you can actually keep progressing to the end, assuming that you don't keep dying. This topped off by the fact that you can play with up to 4 people locally is just a cherry on top, so yeah, arcade mode is great. The game took me 4 hours and 1 minute to complete, with me dying a groundbreaking 130 times. Now the game was enjoyable, and yes there are sections that are more difficult than others. The shooting mechanics though are top notch, which are further complemented by the array of weapons that you do have access to. You do have a few characters that you can choose from with different abilities as well as perks that you can apply to them. My gripe is how much the game costs. There's no way this game should be £35 or $45. The story is short, arcade mode uses the same levels from the story, and so does the challenge mode. So just to make it clear, the game is good, that isn't our complaint here, but to me this is a £20 game or $25 at max. If this was the price point, I'd be sitting here recommending everyone picking this game up. So although I do recommend playing the game, I would hold off until this goes on sale. Unless of course you're a diehard Contra fan, then go ahead and pick the game up, I'm sure you'll have a blast. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribers and non-subscribers, thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this review, comment if you agree or disagree with any of my takes, and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more content just like this. I'm Senor Donut. Peace. Right, so challenge mode. I'm getting one of these done, man. Oh, for f***'s sake. Oh. I've got some faith. Oh, you sneaks. Oh, man. Oh my. Oh, okay. All right, we did it. Hold it.